Judge ready? Timekeep ready? Thank you. Macy was an average girl. She had the perfect boyfriend. She had the perfect family. She loved to run. But one day after she lost her father, she began to realize that maybe things weren't as great as she thought they were. In The Truth About Forever by Sarah Descent, Macy goes throughout this whole entire book, giving us a run-through of her life through her head, about her family problems after her dad has passed, about how the perfect guy she was with, she really doesn't want to be with anymore, and about falling in love with this boy named Wes. The selection I've chosen from The Truth About Forever is at the very end, where everything has come to its peak and is finally settled, when everything has gone all right again. The Truth About Forever by Sarah Descent. Macy, wake up! I rolled over, pulling the pillow over my face. No, I said, my voice muffled. Another hour. No way. I felt fingers flicking my bare feet. Hurry up. I'll be outside. Still half asleep, I heard him leave the room. Then, for a second later, the screen door slammed shut behind him. For a second, I just lay there, so tempted to let sleep pull me in and under, back to dreaming. But then I pushed the pillow off my face and sat up in bed, looking out the window beside me. The sky clear and blue, the waves crashing close in. Another nice day. I got up, then pulled on my shorts and jog bra on my t-shirt, rolling the elastic off my wrist and using it to tie up my hair in a ponytail. Still yawning as I crossed my bedroom and stepped out to the main part of the house, where my sister was sitting at a table, flipping through a magazine. You know what I've been thinking, she said, not even looking up, as if we were just talking. We just picked up where we left off. So we could really use a chimney in here. Oh, what? I said, bending down to grab my shoes off the floor. A chimney. She turned a page of her magazine, propping her chin in her hands. It's an outside chimney, very primal, really makes a statement. I smiled, sliding open the screen door. Great, I said, just great. I stepped outside onto the porch, taking in the first day's breath of cool, salty air. My mother, who was sitting in her desk chair, coffee mug on the table beside her, turned around and looked at me. Good morning, she said, as I bent down and kissed her cheek. Such dedication. Not me, I told her. I wanted to sleep in. She smiled, then picked up her coffee mug, taking the folder underneath and spreading it on her legs. Have fun, she said. You too. I stretched my arms over my head as I started down the stairs to the beach, squinting into the already bright sun. Now that the house was done, we spent most weekends here. At the beginning, it was hard to walk through the door, and I'd cried a lot the first few times, missing my dad. But it was easier now. Even with all the new fabrics and flooring, everything he loved about the beach house, the moose, the fishing poles by the door, his beloved grill, was still there, which made it feel like he was too. There were other changes as well. My mother did come down on the weekends, but she always brought some work with her, and her laptop, and her cell phone still constantly rang. Although we were training her to let the voicemail pick up once in a while. As for me, I was running again, but I didn't pay attention to times or distance. Instead, I'm focusing on how it just felt to be in motion, knowing it wasn't about the finish line, but how I got there that mattered. And my mother and I were talking more. Although it hadn't been easy at first, the trips to the beach helped. While we sometimes had Wes with us, or Christy, I'd come to appreciate the rides we took alone as well. During the long stretches of quiet 2 lanes, with the sun setting in the distance, it was somehow easier to say things out loud. And regardless of what was said, we just kept moving towards the horizon. Carolyn came down most weekends as well, Wally in tow, and pottered around the house examining her handiwork, musing about the other changes she liked to make. Lately, though, she turned her attention to the house 2 lots down, which had recently gone on market. It was a fixer-upper, just needed a little bit of TLC, she told us, as she spread out pictures for us to pursue, and she and Wally had been talking about buying a place at the beach. So many befores, but I knew my sister. She could always see the after. Of all of us, she was the best at that. Now I walked over the dunes, the wind whipping around me. When I looked back at the house, I saw Caroline was out on the porch now, sitting on the new bench, most likely already picturing the chimney. She and my mother waved, and I waved back. Then turned my attention to that short stretch of beach I had to cover to catch up with the figure in the distance. As I started to run, feeling my feet underneath me, I listened for that voice I knew so well, the one that had always helped me at the beginning. Good girl, Macy, you're doing great. You know the first few steps are always the hardest. They were. Sometimes I felt so out of sync. It was all I could do not to quit after a few strides. But I kept on. When I had to get to the next part, this part, where I finally caught up with Wes, my shadow aligning myself with his, and he turned to look at me, pushing the hair out of his eyes. Nice form, he said. Likewise. We ran for a second in silence. Up ahead, all I could see was the beach and the sky. You ready, he said. I nodded. Go ahead, it's your turn. Okay, he said. Let's see. We'd start slow, the way we always did, because the run and the game could go on for a while, maybe even forever. That was the thing. You just never knew. For there were so many different things. It was always changing. It was what everything was really about. It was 20 minutes, or 100 years, or in this instant, or in any instant I wished would last and last. But there was only one truth about forever that really mattered, and that was this. It was happening. Right then, as I ran with West into that bright sun, and every moment afterwards. Look, there. Now.